This
please
conference
leave.
will now be recorded.
Got that?
I'll say that one more time. Please leave your microphones off. So we won't hear any weird stuff going on one more time in the meeting. So caller 2 or caller 3, caller 2, if you would, put your mic off. Caller 3, cut your mic off. Unless you're Commissioner King, that's what we need to know if any of y'all is him.
You guys mute them?
Yeah, go ahead and turn on it.
That was just, I muted everybody and just unmuted the boardroom stuff.
Okay, have you heard from Commissioner King? Was he having issues? I would like to wait one moment though, if we can, if there was an issue with him getting on.
Looks like he's called. I'll call back.
Please bear with us. He's coming?
Oh, he's on.
Okay, never mind. All right, Mike, we'll let you take your seat. We'll get started. All right, it is 6:03, and we'll call this meeting to order. And the first order of business is we shall do the Pledge of Allegiance, ladies and gentlemen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Commissioner Waters, if you would please grace us with the invocation.
Absolutely. Thankful for your many blessings that bestowed upon us, my Lord. Thank you for going to this meeting today. Be with us, guide us, lead us in the direction we need to go for the betterment of our communities. We're blessed ones who are sick, as you put healing's hand upon them, Father, Lord. Lord, help us be what you have us to be, and thank you for all you do. Bless in Jesus' name.
Thank you. If you would please remain standing, we'll have a moment of silence for two of our citizens that passed away, Mr. Arthur Lawson Jr. and James King. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Next is the adoption agenda. I have two changes I'd like to make to the agenda. The first change would be trading out the number 20, which is the closed session, and making that a regular item to consideration of purchase of property at 305 Lejeune Road with budget amendment, and adding to number 21, discussion for dates for us to get together to discuss the budget. Do I have a motion to accept with that changes? Thank you. And second, and all in favor? And Mr. King, excuse me, Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
That vote passes. Okay, next up on the agenda, give me a moment, please, is the consent agenda, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? And Commissioner Martin?
Yep.
Next up is public comment. We had one person, I believe, signed up for the first, if he's here or if he's online. Is he online? Okay, so I'm not sure if it's caller 2 or caller 3.
Guess we'll mute both.
Yeah, we're going to unmute the callers 2 and 3.
What's the name of the public comment?
The first one.
John Ritchie.
The first one is John Ritchie.
Thank you.
We're trying to see if he's online. Caller 2 or caller 3, you John Ritchie. Going once. Going twice. Make sure he's not out in the parking lot. I don't want him there again. You know, somebody signs up and want everybody to have the opportunity to speak.
What's the one that's been oh, Brandon.
It's Brandon. Okay. It's not here. Okay. Well, if he shows up late, we'll definitely give him another opportunity. So we only had one sign up. All right, moving right along. Next up is the staff updates.
We also have Paxton on there.
She's going to speak during the public comment about the life.
All right, so we got a couple of updates for the month of April. Go ahead and run through. Hope everybody had an opportunity to check out the Cape Carteret Easter Bunny Caravan video. I think we had a reach of over 10,000 people who were reached by that video, at least on Facebook alone, which is pretty cool. So you see a little screenshot there on the screen that we filmed up in the Croatan with Officer Willis and the Easter Bunny. So I had a really good time putting that together, and really excited how many people got to see it. We also had the Cape Carteret Easter Bunny Caravan, where we brought the Easter Bunny around to all the neighborhoods in Cape Carteret. So you can see some folks gathered there on the corner of Dolphin and Loma Linda. And want to give a shout out to the Western Carteret Fire and EMS Department. Really appreciate them being out there for the event. So we had a great turnout, and something that we really enjoyed doing. And I hope that it's something in addition to the traditional Easter egg hunts that we'll be able to do in future years. So definitely stay tuned for that. And we also gave out golden eggs in each of the neighborhoods. So you can see some of the recipients of the golden eggs who came up here to Town Hall to receive their golden eggs. And another update, the Cape Carteret Garden Club is having a fundraising garage sale for household items and homemade goods. That's on April 24th, starting at 8 a.m. at the Pelletier Town Hall. We also have the Cape Carteret Yard of the Season contest. The judging date for that is on May 7th, and the entry deadline is May 6th. The application and details are available on the town's website, and this is brought to you by the town of Cape Carteret as well as the Cape Carteret Garden Club. So this will be the first season that we're doing this. We'll do one in the spring, in the summer, and in the fall. So be on the lookout, and if you have an exceptionally well manicured lawn or garden, definitely enter into the contest. We have some good prizes from Lowe Home Improvements. So. And I also want to give a shout out to all of our staff who help make these events a success. You can see Barbara and Heather here during the Egg My Yard event where we distributed Easter eggs with the Easter Bunny to several houses throughout Cape Carteret. There was 23 houses that participated in that. So that was another cool addition to our April festivities. And also, if you hadn't had a chance to check out Connect with Cape Carteret for the month of April, you can see Officer Hayden here on the Anita Fort Park Pier. So definitely check that out. That's on the town's YouTube page, and then also on our Facebook page and our Instagram account. The dredging project that's been going on for the past several months is expected to conclude on April 15th. So I believe that's Thursday. So I know everybody's eager to see that wrapped up and see the roads repaired in Bayshore Park and back to normal. So so definitely appreciate everybody in Bayshore Park's patience during this project. I know it's been a messy project and there's been a lot of damage to the roadways, but the end is in sight, and the county and the contractor have indicated that they're going to make those repairs to the roadways. So hopefully that'll be in the next couple of weeks. Also want to mention that we received a grant through the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality for a recycling grant in the amount of $20,000 to allow us to purchase an inline chipper and a skid steer. So that'll be something that could be incorporated into the budget for purchase on July 1st. And it's to reduce some of the vegetative waste streams so we can chip it and use those wood chips on trails and in the parks throughout the town. So a pretty good opportunity there. And we also were selected for the North Carolina Coastal Resiliency Program. So That kicked off last week, and we have another meeting this week as well. So that's going to be a really good opportunity for the town to study our stormwater infrastructure and then to get some shovel-ready plans together to make improvements to stormwater issues throughout the town. So two exciting opportunities right there. And also want to recognize Barbara Owens, who applied for some bike helmets through the North Carolina Department of Transportation. She got 25 helmets through that program. And we anticipate on the bike to school day on Wednesday, May 5th, that hopefully the police department will be able to hand out those helmets to some of the kids who are riding to White Oak Elementary School. So another grant that we received and something we're excited about. So that's pretty much all that I have in my update, but definitely want to recognize all of our staff, Heather, Barbara, all of the police officers who make these events possible. So really had adapted our events for the month of April, but had a really good turnout and we're able to reach a lot of people. So something we're really excited about. That's all I've got for now.
Chief, you got anything you want to add? Get up here. Let's get closer to the speaker.
I'll keep mine short and sweet about that. Looking over there toward the camera. Good evening to all out there. Along with the exciting events that's been happening, as the temperatures that have increased, so has traffic. So our officers conducted over 300 traffic stops in the month of March. They made 7 arrests with 11 charges and 1 felony arrest with 4 charges. And as always, go to our Facebook page and you can check out the stats. I publish those at the end of each month, so you can see in more detail some of the activities of the officers. I am also excited to announce that the department added a new vehicle to the fleet this past week. And finally, the department would like to thank Larry Watson and Tammy Collins with Holiday Travel Park for a $250 donation that was made to the department in memory of Ronald and Fran Waters. I'd like to say personally, thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Jay. All right, next up is a discussion of the enterprise leasing program. Is Nathan online? Okay. Okay. Well,
Is he online now?
yeah, he's up there. I guess we just need to unmute him, or if he can unmute, we'll.
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. I've been in communication with Zach and Sandy, and I believe there's some information to share on the screen, or I can share my screen as well. But I had the opportunity to speak with the board probably about a year ago, and I appreciate the opportunity to come back and discuss it again.
All right. We appreciate you being here. If you want to just
Yes.
go ahead and.
I'm going to share. Yeah, I'm going to pull my screen up here. What we're in communication about is a few new vehicles for the town. I believe there's a couple public works vehicles and a police vehicle as well. Is my screen on yours? Are you able to see that?
Yes, yeah, we can see that.
Okay. So we have an example menu pricing here, but to give you a little bit of information on what Enterprise Fleet Management does is we're a full fleet management company providing all types of services for government agencies as well as commercial businesses. So we help acquire vehicles on a proactive basis, but then we also can help dispose of vehicles at the end of their useful life, as well as having a place to keep records of your maintenance, of your fuel, and then also kind of help budget that or control those costs as well. So this menu pricing example that I have up is just on the 3 vehicles that I've been in communication with Zach and Sandy about. So what we're looking at is an F-150 Super Crew for the public works, we're looking at a F-350 chassis, which would have a dump bed on it, as well as a Dodge Charger for the police department. The way that we have this set up would be as an open-in, or what we call an equity lease. So what that means to you is we own the vehicles, but the town would own the equity in these vehicles. So you're only using, you're not going out and spending the full capital expenditure for vehicles at one time. We're going to, similar to a finance, just start have the starting price, and then you're going to have that depreciated over a period of time. In this case, we're looking at 48 months for the F-150 and the Charger, and 60 months for the dump bed. You do have the flexibility on a yearly basis that I'll be working with your team to see what equity position you're in. And if we're in a position to get out of the leases early and make money on these vehicles, as most government agencies are able to do, because you're able to buy them very cheap, and then we're able to sell them pretty high because of the low mileage that are on the vehicles. And again, that equity comes back to the city. The costs are right here in the middle. So we've got the monthly cost here. We have a full maintenance included in that. So the full maintenance, what that's going to provide to your team is, again, a budgeted account for the maintenance on the vehicles. And that's going to cover anything mechanical on them from the chassis itself, or coming from the manufacturer. So it's almost like an extended warranty, but it covers everything bumper to bumper on those. The good thing about that is, where you would go to use the maintenance is, some of the locations you're using today. Speaking with Zach and Sandy the other day, Black's Tire is a location that you guys use already, and they're a preferred partner with Enterprise as well. So what this does is it gives you some checks and balances of the maintenance that's performed on the vehicles, and making sure that there is good maintenance work that's upheld. And then we also turn around and we keep this information logged for you through our website portal. And here's just an example of what that looks like. You have a portal that keeps tons of information on here, but what we were looking at is mainly the maintenance on here. You can kind of see the maintenance spend outliers, and this is just an example customer. So it provides you the data of what's performed on this particular vehicles, and again, just keeping track of the maintenance that is spent. So for all the vehicles, excluding the police vehicles, we're able to budget that maintenance on there. But for any of your police vehicles, or even the older vehicles in your fleet today, we can add those onto what is called our maintenance management program, to where we still manage the maintenance and keep track of those expenditures for you. But as you can see here, and I think this information's in your packet as well, but ultimately, in the vehicles that we're looking at disposing today, you have about $15,500 that we believe we could sell from your current fleet, because those are older vehicles. You would save on the maintenance piece there and save on the fuel. But we've got $15,500 that would be credited back to you in year one. Your annual cost in year one would be this $25,767 for the 3 vehicles, and then a one-time one-time upfront aftermarket cost, which is going to be a portion of the bed cost for the dump bed, and a portion of the additional equipment for the police vehicle. So all in all, your budget for year one would be about $17,700 for that particular 3 vehicles. And at the end of the term, what we're looking at here is these values here, which total about $25,200 in years 4 as well as in year 5 for that dump bed. Those are the estimated values that we would have coming back to the city. I know I went over that kind of quick. I definitely wanted to leave some time for questions, but I just want to kind of give you a brief overview of what the program is, what the costs look like, and be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are you ready for questions now?
Yes, sir, Steve. I could definitely take a question.
Well, I got a few here. So Enterprise would sell the current town-owned vehicles that we own now. Is that correct?
Yes, as long as there's a clear title for those vehicles, we have the network and we have the infrastructure to sell those. Either we piggyback off of our enterprise rental car network, so we would sell those either through that network of buyers or directly through an auction. But yes, we would take care of that sale for you.
My primary concern, or my primary interest, is in the police cars. And I understand last time you said we needed to include some public works vehicles also, which I understand that now. But you're only it's probably Zach. Was Zach the one that only listed one police car, or is this just an example?
This is an example. Obviously, we could include 2 for the quantity or 3, whatever the case may be, and it would increase that. This is all based on actual data that I've received from local dealerships or through the manufacturer for pricing.
Okay. Zach, are you online here?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Why did you just, is this just an example, or is just one police car all we need?
Yeah, this is just as an example of the cost per one police car. So I kind of want to have that discussion in terms of, I mean, you just take that and multiply that by how many vehicles we would actually need to switch out. But just for clarity in the presentation, I think it's just showing one so you can see the cost per vehicle. But obviously, there's more that we'd like to cycle out. But just for example purposes, that way, there's one vehicle for each of those different makes and models.
Well, I think it's only appropriate that we need to know how many police cars that we need to swap out according to the agenda, that so we can move forward or not. I mean, as in anything else, I'm interested in a dollar figure more than anything.
Yeah, and that's something, I mean, Chief and I can discuss that, and we can definitely get back to the board in terms of a solid number there. I think more so this evening, we just wanted to see if this was the direction before we get down into the specifics on contracts or anything else. And we can have that dialogue about how many vehicles. Chief's here as well in the boardroom. I don't know off the top of your head if you have a number in mind about how many you want to do in the first year. To do 3 in the first. Okay. So Chief's recommendation would be to do 3 vehicles in the first year of the program. So we could always update that to reflect that. I don't know if Nathan could do that in real time or not, to show some cost and what 3 would be.
Yeah, I was able to update that for you, Zach.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, can you share those figures? I'm having a hard time looking at the screen here.
Sure. So the total annual cost with the maintenance is $43,214.28. The upfront aftermarket would increase. It would be $11,324.50. So all in, your annual cost in year 1, That equals $54,538.78. And then years 2 and on would just go to that annual cost of $43,214.28. And again, this is just for the cost of the vehicle, the maintenance, and the upfit on those. It does not include any taxes, registrations, that kind of thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Got any more questions, Steve?
No, I'm good, Mayor.
Okay, anybody else have any more questions at this point? Okay, Don? Don, speak to the.
So,
Passing that around.
my question is about the equipment in the police vehicles. I see you've got the upfront aftermarket, which I believe I heard you say includes equipping the police vehicles. Is that an estimated amount, a budget amount we've got in order out of that to equip these vehicles? I guess my question is, I can see the numbers that we're going to pay for each police vehicle per year, but when we get the new vehicle, we're going to have to equip it. Do we come up, decide what we need to go in that vehicle, and then that is added on up front, or how does that work?
That's a good question. So what we did is we took, I believe there was a 2020 Charger that you guys just took delivery of, or we had pricing on the upfit from the 2020. So what I did is I took that information and I just estimated about a 10% increase in cost, and that's where I came with the estimate of $7,750 would be the upfit cost to have that specific to the information that was shared with me.
Okay, and I guess as a follow-up question, just so I'm clear on this, if we were, say, each year we're going to get a new police vehicle, would we go down to the place that equips our vehicles for us, come up with an invoice for what we need, and then provide that to you prior to getting the vehicle to be added to the cost? Is that the way that it would be paid for?
That's the ideal situation, because the end user, the police department in this case, and the installer, they definitely interact and know the parts numbers and all that. And we would get that quote directly from the installer. And then, yes, we include that into the vehicle pricing. One of the things here, and you can kind of see when the vehicle aftermarket cost surpasses $5,000, then we require 25% of that cost upfront. And then when it surpasses $10,000, we require half of that upfront. So that's where you're seeing the $7,750 for the police. We're only asking 25% of that upfront, which is the $1,937.50 next to it. And same thing with the dump bed. We're requesting half of that upfront.
Okay, that's my only question.
Okay.
Nathaniel, is there a minimum number of vehicles that we have to go with each year?
There's not a minimum each year. We do require, when we're setting up the partnership, that we cannot do straight ERV units. We do need to have the white fleet or another vehicle in there. But moving forward, if the budget this year is for these 4 vehicles and the next year you need 1 vehicle or no vehicles, then that's fine as well. There's not a minimum every year. It's just when we do start the partnership, the minimum would be at least 1 non-ERV along with the ERV unit.
Okay, so right, what you're saying is what I'm seeing on the screen here is 5 vehicles, right?
Yes, sir.
For the first year, but we don't need to go with 5. We could go with 3 if we wanted to, correct?
As long as they're not all the police vehicles, we would need 1 non-police vehicle along with that.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Nathan.
Yes.
I have a question for the team.
Hang on.
Chief, on the new vehicle we just acquired, is that the same type of motor in that vehicle? This is a V6. You got the Hemi in that one or the V6? In that one?
The research, and I think that we're good to go with V6.
So that's my question. So
Since it's being used in the metropolitan area, I think it will work out.
have you talked to anybody or researched the other departments about how these other V6s are holding up with their departments in comparison?
I have asked a few questions, and they do seem to be working fine with the departments.
Okay. Now, is the vehicle you in, is that an all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive?
Rear-wheel drive on.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, any more questions? If not, we'll let him proceed. Okay, carry on, sir.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. I don't know, Zach, if there was anything more specific from what we talked about the other day. But really, my understanding was to come here and just kind of give you an overview of the program and the example pricing here and answer any questions.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing I'll just add is one thing we were impressed with was that portal that Nathan had pulled up earlier that kind of you can track all of your vehicles in the fleet and keep track of their mileage, their service intervals. So I was really impressed with that resource. I think that would help us out tremendously in terms of keeping track of oil changes and when the factory required maintenance is supposed to be taking place. So I see a lot of benefit to that as well. Just getting all the vehicles into that system and then keeping things on a regular interval. I think that would help out a bunch. So we were really impressed with that. And then also just looking at, our CIP plan and how much we typically put aside in the CIP. So if we're following our FY 21-22 projections, we would be putting aside $41,009 in the FY 21-22 budget, but we wouldn't be getting any new vehicles. So we would just be putting that money aside for the future, for a future purchase several years down the road. I think the maintenance issues that we've seen in the police department are more of an immediate need, which I think this program would address. So, as opposed to the CIP, it's a great resource, but at the same time, we're kicking the can down the road a couple of years before we could actually purchase some things. So I think this is a better scenario in terms of getting them the vehicles that they need that are reliable, getting it to them now as opposed to several years down the road. And then also with some of the stuff with, the potential equity in the vehicles, with them being able to sell them, higher than what they're purchased at. There's a couple of different scenarios that are pretty interesting that we just talked offline, like with some stuff that are non-police vehicles on a 12-month lease interval, where it's a pretty substantial amount of actual profit that comes off that, and that equity can offset costs in another department essentially. So really an interesting program that I think would serve us very well. And talking with other communities, I've heard nothing but good things about the program, and so I hope that's something we can move forward on. But I think it's definitely something for the police department especially, and for public works. I mean, they've been having issues with their 1994 truck these past 2 weeks and tinkering on it, trying to get it up and running. So, I think it's long overdue that we get some of these vehicles updated, and this would be a good means to being able to do that. So that's kind of what I have to add to it.
All right.
One thing can I add one thing, Zach?
Yes.
Zach, one thing that I was really impressed with, because I've worked in a dealership and I know how they charge for things. And although we use Black tires, I think by going with them, they double check. Like Black tires cannot make a decision on maintenance without checking to make sure that their expertise on doing a repair. So to me, that's nice that they cannot double charge us for something, or something can't be done without knowing that something is double approved. And that's a double check, which to me is a very big plus. That saves us money. It saves us from someone charging us for something just because they want to. And I think that's a big savings for us.
Yeah, just to piggyback Sandy there, our maintenance team, they are ASC certified technicians that have all been in the industry for several years. And to her point, when the vehicles go into the shop contacts our team directly, and they're the ones that go back and forth to figure out what needs to be approved on the vehicle, what doesn't need to be approved. And then also we have the history to see if any maintenance was performed just recently and they're asking to do the same repair again. So to her point, there's definitely some checks and balances there, and all that runs through our maintenance team. And then to follow up on Zach's comments, I believe also in your packet is a fleet synopsis. There's definitely some references in there, a lot of different agencies around the area that utilize our services. They're definitely going to be the best people to reach out to and figure out how the program is actually working for them. And if there's any other questions that come up, after this meeting, then we can definitely get you the information that's requested.
Zach, I have a question, maybe to you or Sandy or either the chief. How much money has been spent on the vehicles that Cape Carteret owns in the past year on maintenance? Well, you can go the last 2 years. This last 2 years, fine, last year, whatever.
So
The current amount, I'm sorry, Zach, do you want to go?
all right, but anyway, based on the fees that I'm sure Sandy's gonna say the same thing, but $29,898.87 for the
That's
police
for
department.
this budget year, correct?
The almost $30,000 just from police vehicles alone for 1 year?
Yes.
That does not include public works?
That doesn't include public works.
And that's just up until now. That does include through June 30th.
Okay, thank you. That's the information I was looking for.
Yeah, my understanding is
If
this,
you would like Public Works, I can give you that, Commissioner Waters. If you give me 2 seconds, I can pull that out for you. Public Works, vehicles repair shows about 1,600 right now.
Thank you, Miss Sandy.
You're welcome.
it's my understanding that this item is to see if we move forward. There's no possible action tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm just seeking the direction from the board if this is something that you'd like to move forward with. Obviously, as we're getting in the budget process, this plays a pretty significant role in our budget. So if there's interest in moving forward, that's helpful for us to know that, and then Brett and I can start on the contract and then present that to the board at a future.
Okay, so then are you going to pull the board at the end of this thing to get the direction?
Yes, yeah. There's to move forward. That would be also involved in the contract and the specifics of the contract. And in terms of the number of also.
Right. Like I said, we need to get started, but
I understand that.
be nice to-
I'd like to make just a couple comments regarding this. Having been in industry for years and leasing all kinds of equipment, what we found to be best for us is only those pieces of equipment that are infrequently used do we lease. Stuff that we use every day, like police cars or trucks or things like that, is always better. It's more economical to do not lease those, to buy those outright, just like we buy our own cars. Second of all, and then you take those vehicles that you buy and you use them up. You don't trade them 2 and 3 year basis because you lose so much in depreciation in the first 2 and 3 years. Lease cars on lease vehicles when they're sold, especially cars in particular, are never bring what a personal automobile traded in because they're abused. People, we don't want, you ask the people that has a leased car, well, they take care of it. I says, I don't have to worry. It's not my car. The thing that drives me on this thing is we are introducing a third party that's in this to make a profit. And I'm saying Enterprise doesn't do this for nothing. We talked about technicians that he has, for maintenance technicians. We've got a man presenting us tonight. And I just don't think that we're giving some of our money to somebody else. So I'm not in favor of proceeding with this program.
Mayor, I have a comment with Mr. Commissioner King's finished, please.
Go ahead.
I just like to tell my fellow commissioners that we are fooling ourselves if we think that we can come up with the funds to buy a fleet of police cars and public works trucks. I was against this at the presentation last year, but in looking at what was presented tonight, I'm going to be all in favor of it. This is the only way that we're going to be able to furnish police cars and public works vehicles. If anybody thinks we can budget it without a tax increase, it's not going to happen.
Any other comments or questions?
Go for it.
So consensus is? Bree and Steve, I assume you're for it by your last statement?
Yes, I'm all in as getting Zach and that gentleman and the attorney to do whatever they need to do. As long as it's for at least 3 police cars and the 2 public works vehicles. I'm not in if it's just for 1 police car. I think we need to address our needs now.
Well, I have a question.
Hold on just a second.
I just have a question to the chief. Chief, when we just got that new car, would it, if due to money issues, would 2 be sufficient if we have to go that direction? Or 3 would be the number 1 you really need?
Yes.
I'm all about it. I'm all about it. I'm just,
Due to my concern about some vehicles without mileage,
that,
we could get by with 2, but I think 3 would be ideal. We get us, make a call back up.
but y'all are still swapping vehicles out now because of vehicles being broke down.
Yes, sir.
They add more issues to the vehicles that's already in.
We have 2 out there now that are on the last legs.
I got you. Okay. That's all. Good question. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Okay, well, the consensus is 4-1. Zach can get busy. And I have to agree with Mike as far as back in the day with regular leases, we would never consider anything like that. But even when I was with the town of Hillsborough, it's just different when you can take some of these things away as far as trying to sell vehicles and when they're bringing the maintenance aspects of this to it as well. I think it'll be advantageous to us in today, what we're looking at. All right. Well, thank you, sir. We sure appreciate your presentation. Look forward to working with you. And I guess Zach will get with you about particulars and things like that.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity and the time tonight. And Zach, I look forward to hearing from you, and we can start getting the information together to present to the board on all the final numbers and contracts.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next up is a presentation of text amendment to section 156.124B. To get your stuff squared away there.
Is it on the screen? Do that now. Alrighty, so at the March Board of Commissioners meeting, a CSP was considered for 108 Manatee Street, and one of the items that came up in the discussion at the previous meeting was about the requirement for fire hydrants to be located within 300 feet of the principal structure. So we went back and took a look at the section of the ordinance 156.124, commercial buildings and other permitted uses, and we've suggested the following modifications to that section of the ordinance. We would be adding this line here under subsection 3, which would read, if the size of water lines located within 300 feet of the principal structure are less than 6 inches in diameter, then the applicant shall be relieved of the requirement to install a fire hydrant. And then we would be striking provision 3. We'd be modifying section 4, which is instead of reading fire hydrant shall be subject to the approval of, it'll read all applicants shall coordinate with the Western Carteret Fire Department and any other applicable or successor agency that now has or hereafter requires fire protection and prevention authority over the area containing the subject property to determine the applicable fire suppression requirements of the North Carolina Fire Code. And the planning board considered this item on April 6th, 2021 and voted unanimously to provide a favorable recommendation of the proposed text amendment to the Board of Commissioners. And this evening, the Board of Commissioners are asked to consider approving text amendment 2021-04-01. And I believe we have a public hearing on this item, which will immediately follow this presentation. So in terms of the actual vote on it, that would take place at a follow-up meeting because we do have somebody participating electronically. So so for that, we'll have to schedule, and I think we had talked about a follow-up meeting date potentially next week for that. So so with that, that's everything for my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions about the proposed text amendment.
Mr. King?
Support the change. We have 80 to 100 fire hydrants in this town, and the 80 to 100 fire hydrants in this town were put in because of the ordinance we have in place. You know, when you talk to Western Carteret, not Western Carteret, the water company, they're always saying, well, we're not in the business of putting in fire prevention. But when you look at it, they allowed those 80 to 100 to be put in because it increases the value of the water company. And this gives us protection. People, when you buy insurance, on the very first page of the application, they're going to ask you how many feet you are from a fire hydrant. So this situation that we had over in Manatee is a little bit unusual because there are a few sections of this town where they have 4 and even 2-inch water mains where you couldn't put a fire. The minimum size you can put one on is 6 inches. And our ordinance requires when we put new developments that the main line be 8 inches. And when we're putting in new lines, we're in the driver's seat on that because we're calling. But so I think this keeps the ordinance in place. So when we develop the back section up there in the shopping center, that'll get fire hydrants up there. And I guess that's all I have to say. I think it's a good change to the ordinance. It's really a little bit unfair to ask somebody because there was only a 4-inch line to put in 400 feet of 6-inch pipe is the cost of the project. So I think this is a great compromise.
Any other comments? All right, given that it's a hybrid meeting, do we go into public comments now? Okay, so I need a motion to come out of the regular meeting and go into public comment.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second, Mr. King, all in favor? And Commissioner Martin? Okay, see your hand there, sir. All right, do we have anybody signed up to speak on this issue for public comment?
I don't believe so.
We do not.
Nope.
At this time. So I would entertain a motion to come out of public comment and go back into the regular meeting.
Okay.
All right, have a second. All in favor? All right, Commissioner Martin. Okay. All right, next on the agenda, and is going to be the presentation regarding the rezoning of 332 Live Oak from B20 conditional use commercial to R10 residential.
All right, so the town of Cape Carteret has received a rezoning request for the property located at 332 Live Oak Drive in Cape Carteret. The applicant has requested a change in zoning from B20 conditional use to R10 residential. The subject property is approximately 1.2 acres, and it is surrounded by properties that are zoned R10M, which is residential multifamily. The R10 zoning district requires a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet, and R10 residential zoning district allows for single family dwellings. The notifications were sent out because it was located within 5 miles of Bogue Field. A notification was sent to the commanding officer of Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point on March 26, 2021 by certified mail. Adjacent property owner notifications were sent out on March 24, 2021. The notice of the rezoning public hearing was posted on site on April 2nd, 2021, and the public notice of the rezoning ran in the Carteret News Times on 3/21 and 3/28. And the planning board met on April 6th, 2021, and voted unanimously to provide a favorable recommendation of the proposed rezoning to the Board of Commissioners. The statement of consistency references section 4.2 of the town's 2007 Camel Land Use Plan, and specifically policy 10. And the requested action is for the Board of Commissioners to consider approving the proposed rezoning of 332 Live Oak Drive from B20 commercial conditional use to R10 residential.
Unless there's any comments.
Are you taking comments yet?
Yes, if you'd like to give one.
Zach, does this zoning change, would that allow the property owner to build a condominiums on that property?
No, this would limit use to single family dwellings, so single family houses.
Thank you.
Any more comments?
Yeah, is Mr. McDougal going to speak on that?
I don't know. Is he online? Do we do have, I think Miss, is it, anybody signed up for this one? Ms. Holtz is signed up to speak once we go into public. Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to go into public comment. All in favor?
Yes,
Mr. Martin?
yes.
And we are in public comment. So Ms. Holtz, is she online or is she here? Okay, we'll go get Ms. Holtz. Bear with us just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. We can hear her. Is she online? Caller 2 or 3, are you Ms. Holtz? No, she's not here, and caller 2 and 3 are not answering, so nobody else here to speak or online. I'll entertain a motion to go out of public comment and back to the regular meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Second? Commissioner King, all in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Next up is consideration of a CSP for Lowe's Foods gas station at 307 WB Mclean. I'm sorry, Mr. King, did you have something?
Full of order here for this topic. Is this possible?
No, we gotta come back and vote on a later date with the other one.
Okay, then I'll make the comments that I wanted to make.
Want to do it now?
Fast puck, yeah.
The question directed to Zach, since Mr. McDougall is here. Had he, I assume Mr. McDougall is doing this on behalf of a prospective buyer. Is that correct?
We've got any contact with Mr. McDougall on this. I believe the actual buyer is in contact with the competition.
Okay, but he doesn't own the property. Yeah, I think it's customary that sometimes when you have this, that the owner goes and gets the zoning, and if that is successful, then they close the purchase. The question I had is why he didn't zone this R10M, because like the adjoining property, because he could always do single-family homes in there in R10M district. You can always do less than what the zoning thing is, but you can't do more. So that was a curiosity question. I'm supportive of the zoning change, but I just don't know why somebody would do that.
Only build one house.
Sir?
It's only gonna build one house. Nice,
Well, he could do it with either zoning.
will not be, well, yeah, but if you know you're only gonna build a house, then you don't need it.
Yeah, that's correct. Just curiosity question, why we wouldn't do something like that.
Yeah, and in the packet as well, it does have in there where Terry McDougall occupies Aaron Palmer building capacity on project.
Okay,
For the project. So if he's acting on behalf of Terry McDougall for this. I think I heard there's maybe some intention to do a subdivision down there to divide. I think he could get maybe 3 lots out of that.
great.
So that would be something that would, later date. So,
Yeah, so he can do that with either zoning designation.
yeah, it could be, I don't know why one versus the other, less density, but.
All right. No other comments for moving back on consideration of CSP for Lowe's Food Gas Station at 307 WB McLean Drive. Could you pass the speaker back, please?
Here you go.
You guys work well together.
Is anyone speaking? I cannot hear anything.
We can't hear.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you
Yeah,
now.
finally, start over.
All right,
Yes.
so we're gonna, let's start over, Zach.
Am I starting at the very beginning of the?
When did y'all lose sound with us? Was it when? he
Never
started?
never heard the first word on this
Okay.
Lowe project.
All right, then we shall start over. Sorry about the inconvenience.
Well, okay, so I'll practice this once now, so we'll go back through and. All right, so this is the commercial site plan for 307 WB Mclean Drive. The applicant is proposing to demolish the former Marine Federal Credit Union Bank and to construct a Lowe's Foods gas station and kiosk. Convenience stores, including gasoline sales, are listed as a permitted use in the B20 and B30 commercial zoning districts of the town with a parking category of C. Parking category of C requires one parking space for each 200 square feet of gross floor area. The proposed site plan shows 289 square feet of conditioned space, which would require 2 parking spaces to be installed at the site. The applicant has proposed a total of 3 parking spaces, which included 2 standard parking spaces and 1 handicap accessible space. The minimum lot size in the B20 commercial zoning district is 20,000 square feet, and the subject property exceeds the minimum lot size requirement as it's 33,846 square feet. The following setbacks are required in the B20 commercial zoning district: front 40 feet, side 0 feet with a buffer yard required, rear 25 feet, and the buffer is 20 feet along Highway 24 and a 1-row screen 10 feet wide along the side yard. The planning board met on April 6th and voted unanimously to provide a favorable recommendation of the proposed commercial site plan for 307 WB Mclean Drive. And the requested action is for the Board of Commissioners to consider approving the proposed commercial site plan for 307 WB Mclean Drive. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I believe there are representatives from Lowe's Foods. I believe Bob Spalding and Chris Bond are on the video conference as well, and they can answer any questions.
All right, Bob or Chris, would y'all like to say anything before we start discussing this, or?
No, I don't have any comments.
Okay.
I don't have anything. No, thank you.
All right, well, I can entertain a motion and then we can go to a discussion.
Move to approve.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. All right, any comments, discussion? Hang on, Mike King has a comment. Try not to touch anything on top, gentlemen.
Steve.
Yeah, I went through this in great detail, and it's probably one of the better site plans we've had come before this board with the amount of detail and the accuracy and compliance with the CSP. One of the a couple issues came up that were asked of me generally about whether this was a convenience store or gas station was in the permitted use. Well, what we have is convenience store / gas stations, and these canopy things are just evolutions of the convenience store. There's going to be a tenant there, they're going to sell stuff, so I felt like it was in there. The other issue, I had a lot of discussion with people on the stormwater, and the stormwater pretty much speaks for itself with that letter that we got today. But even if it didn't, you know, we have this site over here that's in disrepair right now, but I talked to the people down at CAMA who are in conversation with DOT, and they expect to let bids on that in the fall to repair that facility. So we'll see. And that treats the stormwater from the Lowe shopping center. So it will be a good thing. The last thing, I spoke with the engineer this morning on this, and the only thing that I was asking of him, that where the sidewalk ends at Enterprise Drive, that he put a pedestrian crosswalk markings on the pavement. That's the best way to do it, because you walk to that little island in the middle, and there's the push button to cross if you want to cross Anita Fort, and that stops traffic all the way. So the person only has to negotiate one lane of traffic, the right turn lane, to that side, and he gets to the middle, and then he can wait for the other side to clear. And the engineer agreed to do the pavement marking. So that's the extent of my comments.
I had one comment myself. I'm looking at the plans. I've only seen them online, so some things are a little blurry for me. But in the top section where you've got the island where you go into the actual parking lot for the Lowe's, is that where, right on that butt end where your trucks are going to be coming in, is that a proposed ATM site for like where the Marine Federal was going to go? Is that what that is?
Yes, that is a proposed, I learned something new, ITM, which is an interactive teller machine. I think you have video capability, that kind of thing. So yes.
Okay, yeah, that thing's pretty nice. I use it quite regularly. So I understood that they were going to have something there. So that's great. Anybody else have any comments?
Yes, I do, Mayor.
Go right ahead, Steve.
I was surprised at the number of citizens that reached out and called me concerning this project. And I got to be blunt here, not a single one of them were in favor. The reasons varied from stormwater runoff, and the most important issue was traffic and the possibility of traffic stacking up. So I just want to throw that out, that not a single person that has reached out to me was in favor of this project. I personally would rather have seen it pushed toward the back of the shopping center a little further away from 24 to allow the traffic to flow a little better. That's just my personal opinion.
All right, any more comments, Steve?
Yeah, I'd just like to, I think Commissioner King could probably answer this question. My understanding is this is like the third time that Lowe's has tried to put a gas station in. I don't know what relevance that is, but just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Steve, from down here?
Hang on, we're moving the speed.
All right, we need to be down there.
Yes, I don't know if it's the third, it's at least the second time. And they had it moved back there But what they ended up doing, what killed the project, is they were taking so much of the parking spaces of the existing Lowe's Foods that we couldn't make a go of it. I'm like you. Do I wish something else would be there? Sure I do. You know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but not particularly in favor of a gas station. But, you know, it's their property. It's like you own a piece of property and you don't like the house that your neighbor's putting in, there's nothing you can do about it. These people met all of the requirements, and although I'm not happy with it, the stormwater is no different than the situation we just approved for Starbucks down there. It's all going to the same place.
Thanks, Mike, for commenting on that. I understand they've met all the requirements, and I think it would be a nice project, but I just think it's in the wrong area. I think it needs to be pushed back, but that's my opinion once again.
All right. Any other comments, gentlemen? All right, then we'll put it to a vote. All in favor? And Steve?
No.
4-1, carries. Thank you, Bob and guys, for coming. Is there any way you could put a Chick-fil-A on top of that little building?
We'll see what we can do.
That was a promise that certain Commissioner Waters made. We'd get a Chick-fil-A, and I get phone calls about that every day. But anyway. All right, so next on the agenda is discussion of a no parking area at 302 Manatee.
Don't pass.
I'm sorry, let me give Steve. Speaker back to you there.
All right, so we received a request to designate an area along 302, or along Manatee Street at 302 Manatee Street as a no parking area for vehicles and boat trailers. And I've attached the email we received from the resident at 302 Manatee Street. We haven't drafted up a text amendment at this time. We just wanted to gauge what the board's preference would be if you wanted staff to move forward with drafting a text amendment to designate this area as a no parking area, or if you wanted to leave it in its existing condition or existing status. But this is, let me switch screens and I'll show the location of where this property is.
It's a fairly new house, like the second one on the right, as you go past the intersection, I believe.
Yes, yeah, that second house past the intersection of Neptune and Manatee. So that's the subject property there. You can see the boat ramp down here towards the bottom of the screen. So what I'm just asking for at this time is direction from the board if this is something, or if this is of interest to designate this as a no parking area. I know that there's been different no parking signs put up and down that street at different points in time in the past. I think hurricanes and things have taken them out, and they've been put up at different intervals. So I think this will provide some clarity in terms of whether there should be a no parking area designated there or not. There's nothing formally in the ordinance at the present time that addresses that specific location.
I just have a question pertaining to the area of the boat ramp. And Mike, you might be able to help with this. I guess y'all can hear me okay here. When the boat ramp was initiated down at end of Manatee Street, was not the properties on the side of the street left open, and it was agreed upon that no parking signs be put up, but to allow people with boat trailers to be parked on the side of the road so they have access to the boat ramp. Is that not true?
I don't know if that's exactly true, but I think the way it was, with the exception of the one house right down there on Bogue Lane, okay? The corner house, okay? In the town, ordinances have always allowed parking in the right of way, and the person's comment is in their yard, it's the right of way, it belongs to the town, okay? And if you go through the town, you'll see every grass cutting person he will park while they cut the lawn in the right of way, and usually they have one wheel on the pavement. And that's the way it's been. We recognize that when we put that boat ramp in, that the 19 spaces that we have down there, plus the 3 or 4 that we have over in the park area that belongs to the town, probably wasn't going to be sufficient on the big weekends. And so people park up and down that street, almost to the corner of Neptune, where Neptune intersects it. And it's been that way for some time.
But was it put in the ordinance or in the part of the agreement when we put the boat ramp in? Can we just research on that before we actually vote on there's no parking signs in that area? Because I understand that was done and we have not been adhering to it. Just want, and we need to look at it first. That's just my thought with that.
In terms of the actual lease agreement, I don't think it's in the lease agreement. I think it's probably a discussion that the board had at the time from what I've heard from residents of the town. And I think the bigger discussion here is there's a bunch of vacant parcels along Manatee Street. And so if we keep going house by house and designating that as no parking, we're going to be in a situation where we don't have anywhere to park.
Sure.
So I think that's where kind of the bigger discussion lies. And I don't know exactly what the dialogue was back then. I think Commissioner King, you were on the board then.
It was. I don't remember specific discussion regarding parking in the right of way, although it was pretty much assumed that on busy days that we would be doing it.
But honestly, I believe that's why they said they were not going to put any new parking signs up, due to having people availability to be able to put the boat ramp.
Yes, yeah, I think that's just kind of one of those things. If those lots are built up, then there might be in a scenario where there's no parking along the right of way there. And it can be very limited in terms of the number of spaces available for the boat ramp. So, and then I don't know if we'd have to look at reducing the number of passes then. I mean, it would, so just all kind of things to consider in the grand scheme of that. So that's just why I wanted to bring it up for discussion and then kind of get direction if it's something. Does the board want to look at this and designate this specific property, or just leave it as is? I think we had done one a couple of weeks ago for the corner of Bogue Lane and Manatee Street, but that's also a little bit different circumstance. That's right across from the boat ramp, and it's a corner lot, with stop signs and a lot of vehicle movement going on in that area. So a little bit different scenario in that case.
Is there something maybe you can go ahead and research that for us before we even move forward? That's part of Don's question or comment that as well.
My question is kind of been answered. I was going to ask in the beginning, are we considering no parking all the way down on that side of Manatee Street, or just in front of this one parcel that's asked for it?
Just in front of that one parcel.
And so if we were to do that, and then next month or 2 months from now, somebody at 308 is asking for the same thing, and then 310, I mean, I think a street, either the entire street or half a street, whatever is decided, this is a no parking area, but you don't just do it a parcel at a time. That's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think in terms of I don't know if it was in the minutes from back when it was discussed.
It was 2006, so, and it was in, I think, November of 2006 that we did this. So maybe we go back and look at those minutes and see if there was anything. I don't recall anything, but what Don says, I'm sitting here asking myself, the yellow house on Manatee wasn't there, and the discussion wasn't there. There was one on the corner, maybe 2 houses on the whole street all the way up to Neptune. And of course, the corner house wasn't there. And so for years, there wasn't any issue at all. And I think if we get into picking on places and say, well, we'll let this person nobody park in front of his house. But, half the people in this town get their yards cut by people that do exactly what the people launching the boat do.
Any other comments or discussion? And if there's no motion, we'll just.
I'm gonna make one comment. I heard absolutely nothing from any of the commissioners on that. Thank you.
Sound?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm assuming you have a microphone, but I did not hear. I just heard a bunch of jargon from all the commissioners. I heard no words, but that's okay. I'm all for whatever Zach or the rest of us want to do with it.
Well, just to give you a consensus of what was said is pretty much that for the one lot, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because then we can keep going all the way down the road and then not have any parking at all. But I think Commissioner Waters was curious about, was there any agreements in the past that we were going to keep that as a parking area? Or was that in any type of past agreements or discussion with the board? So unless somebody wants to make a motion, I guess we give Zach opportunity to research that, see if there was anything. Unless somebody wants to make a motion to approve this. If not, then we'll just move on.
Oh, okay. Since I'm all in agreement of, it seems like we just approved no parking for that corner house a couple of meetings ago, and what we're going to do, have one homeowner every month or something. So whatever we need to do, but I'm for just making it no parking all the way down the street on both sides on the right of way. That's the way I would look at it.
I think what,
Hold on.
Speak.
I think that what Commissioner Waters has said, we can look at, I believe it was November 2006, look in those minutes and see if there's any discussion, either, meeting before that or after that, right in that range, to see if there was any agreements. I don't think that there was, but it wouldn't hurt. I would put it off, and if you want to bring it back to the board for decision, I don't think, I'm not favorable and just cutting out no parking on the whole street when the rest of the town has that right, They could go park that trailer up on Neptune if they wanted to, but it's a little longer walk, that's all.
They'll do it.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
All right, so
In summary, what?
don't waste your breath twice, Jack. All right.
In summer, I think what we'll do is go back to 2006 and see if there was any specific discussion about that parking area along Manatee Street. If there was something that said that it was supposed to be designated as no parking, we'll bring that back to the board at a future meeting. If there's no reference to it, if everybody's good with that, we would just leave it how it is, kind of thing.
Okay.
All right.
Is that a good consensus? Okay. All right. Thank you. All righty. Next up is consideration of budget amendment 2020.2021.11 for the Pettiford Creek kayak launch. Give Zach a moment to get ready there.
All right, so the town has made excellent progress on the Pettiford Creek launch site. As the project has progressed, we have identified additional expenses that were not anticipated in the original project development. So some of the expenses, I have them summarized there on the screen, would be the installation of a fence along the northern property boundary to provide some separation between the site and the adjacent property. The fence can be installed by the Public Works Department, and the anticipated cost would be $2,550. We'd also like to put a swing gate in for the entrance of the property, so that we can secure the site overnight. That would be $416. We'd also like to add an additional gangway and floating dock at canal number 2 to ensure optimal access at the site during all tidal conditions. So we'd like to do a 5x5 platform coming to a 3x12 gangway and a 6x12 floating dock. So the anticipated cost for this would be $8,670. And then we'd like to put up warning signage and advisory signage for hours of operation, not to feed wildlife, specifically don't feed the alligators. And then emergency contact info for the site, that would be around $325. And then we'd like to install steps and benches for the wildlife observation area there at the end of that walkway, and that would be an anticipated cost of $415. So a budget amendment to the Parks and Recreation Department would be needed to account for the additional project costs. So it's summarized there in the memo. Increase the transfer from the unrestricted fund balance by $12,376 and increase expenditures in the Parks and Recreation Department by $12,376. And the Board of Commissioners are asked to consider approving the proposed budget amendment for the Pettiford Creek launch site. And I think all these expenditures are necessary to really optimize the use of the site. And I think these would be beneficial. I think we want this to be the best possible outcome for the project that we can accomplish, and I think this would allow us to do that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any on this proposal.
Anybody have any questions, Ron?
I got a question, Zach.
Go ahead.
What is that proposed privacy fence going to be constructed of?
We were planning on doing a wooden privacy fence.
And I assume the post will be set in concrete?
Yes, yeah, set in concrete. That's what Public Works had figured into that cost.
Okay. Because those privacy fences, they succumb to the wind fairly easily down here. One question off topic. What is the estimated completion date of this project?
My goal is to get it completed by the end of June, so we get it in this fiscal year. So we're making good progress on it. I think we can get a lot of these items squared away. We're just waiting on the stormwater permit for the site. So that's kind of our outstanding item. As soon as we have the stormwater permit in hand, then we can move forward on installing the turn lane and the parking area. So we're going to try to wrap up all these other items while we're in the process of securing that stormwater permit. So that way, the last thing we do at the site is install the turn lane and the parking lot, and then we can cut the ribbon and open it up. So, but that way we minimize impacts as well to the fresh asphalt and all that. So that'll be the last kind of thing we touch for the project.
Thank you, Zach.
Yep, no problem.
Anybody else got any more questions for Zach? Hold on.
Yeah, just a couple comments. The gate, I don't know that there's going to be anything up there for people to steal. Why would we need a gate at night? What's wrong with that?
Well, they're doing things you don't want them to do.
That we did?
Absolutely. Deter me.
That's how we know.
That's how we know.
This is the deterrent.
Okay, all right. But somebody's got to close it and lock it every night.
Police department.
Okay, that answers that question. That's a good idea. Second thing, I would put, if you're going to put a wooden fence, I'd put a slatted wooden fence where the pieces are on alternate sides. That way we'll never have a problem with the wind with it, rather than just a sheer fence. It's not going to lose it. And the last question, did you mention the steps to get to the launch site, the aluminum launch site?
Yes, yeah, that's that. You talking about the end on that second?
The closer one.
No,
Where you've got it right now.
What were the steps before?
The problem that people have with kayaks, people drag kayaks. They don't lift them, okay? And some people just can't. And so if they could drag it and just had a set of steps right opposite where the ramp is to go down to the thing, if you put a set of steps there, you could easily transport it, and all you'd have to do is carry it down the ramp rather than the whole length of that thing, that walkway. They're not going to drag that thing on that concrete. It'll sand off the bottom of their kayak, especially if they have a real nice one. That's.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we took that into account, but I'll pull up the plan on the screen. I'll make sure I'm understanding what you're talking about. Pull it up.
Okay, what I'm saying is people have to haul their kayak the full length of this thing. If you put, make it a little smaller.
Like zoom in, zoom out.
Zoom out, zoom out. Yeah, if there was just a set of like deck steps right here, people wouldn't have to haul their kayak. They could just drag it down here. This will be ended up being great, and they haul it right down here and they go right down. This is going to be the one that's used more often because of the long walk down here. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think that would be, if you're talking like parallel or lining up with that gangway, that's pretty wet through there. I mean, that's like in this area where it had the.
Well, the real wet is down here. You can put it right here. They could walk down. They could drag their kayak down, lift it up onto the deck, and then just walk up there. It's a whole lot drier. If it's wet, they won't use it. Okay, but if it's not, they could use it. Otherwise, they're going to have to haul their kayaks down the whole length of the thing. And the ones going out here, it's going to be rarely used because people drag those things. They don't put them on their shoulders.
Yeah, I think that's something, if the board would put something, we could add that kind of at a later date. I don't have priced out in terms of, and I think that would require a permit amendment beyond what we've provided for our general permit down there. If that would be all right to bring that just at a later time as an addition to the project.
You're going to have to amend your permit anyway if you change the scope.
Yeah, and we've already done that. We've sent it to the adjacent property owners and all that. So I could certainly look at it. And I don't know if it would require. I don't know if we'd have to update our building permit with the county and all that as well. Let's see. I'll see if I can get it.
Zach, I wasn't, I didn't get to see what Commissioner King was pointing to on the board, obviously. But I will say this, in regard to what he did say, Mike, I intend on carrying my kayak down there. I don't know about you, but I'm going to carry my kayak.
We'll go ahead and get some comments from Mr. Nailitz while we're waiting for Zach.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out for future reference that no matter how good a deal these real estate projects look in the beginning, there are always unidentified additional expenses that pop up. That's for later reference.
Anybody else have any comments? I was actually looking up the info.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to pull a picture up on the screen just to, that might be more helpful.
Zach, if you're doing that for my benefit, don't worry about it. I'm ready to vote on it whenever the motion's made.
So, Commissioner King, are you talking, if you just want to point it out, that might.
Just put, they just put a set of steps just the other side of where this comes in there. Where people could drag their kayak down there, put it up in there, walk up the steps and haul it down there rather than hauling on it. You know, some of the people, a lot of women and children are doing it. I don't know that they can all have the kayak. Just to make it easier to get down there. You know, all you're talking is a set of steps. Probably 3 landings, 3 rides.
All right.
Well, that's something we can do later though, right?
Yeah, we could come back and add that as well.
Thing, see what it looks like after it's dressed up and pretty.
Yeah, I know this is, like I said, this is pretty wet in this area right here. So I think I get what you're saying though, is to walk, they would walk along the grass and then come to a set of steps and go up those steps to get there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They would walk parallel.
On the deck and walk up the steps and then just drag it down the ramp again.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Martin? Okay.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Okay, next on the agenda is the discussion of land use plan project steering committee.
This is just on the board. We do have a pretty tight timeline, and I know that the consultant is wanting to get started on the land use plan development process. So the question is, would the board like to designate the UDO project steering committee to also serve as the land use plan steering committee, or would the board like to appoint a separate committee to fulfill the role? I think either option is fine, but for the sake of being able to address both plans at the same time with the same committee, that might allow for some additional ease in the process, and I think allow that committee to work on both of those. But I wanted to check with the board to see if y'all wanted to appoint separate members and create a separate body to handle that, or if you just would like to designate the UDO project steering committee as the land use plan steering committee as well. So just seeking direction on that.
Hold
This is a function that's usually something the planning board does. They have the right to set up committees and all that stuff. And is Susan Hall on there? Maybe ask her opinion. Why couldn't they do this, or is the time urgency? Because I think they could do a better job than we could of picking somebody, or perhaps, you know, using some members of their board who were interested in the other committee. You want to speak to that, Susan, are you on?
I am. So I think that the existing group that the Board of Commissioners appointed for the UDO steering committee is actually a really good group for the land use steering committee, because it does bring in a lot of the elements of kind of our history and where we've been, and the group that we have is right now for the UDO steering committee. That's really who that group is. If I would say what would make more sense to me is that the planning board take the UDO, which is more of a technical effort of just we're not making any changes on our own, right? It's more of almost an administrative drill, and use the current UDO steering committee as the land use committee. Now, in accordance with the existing code of ordinance, this does fall under the planning committee. Both of these efforts would, and the planning board would then kind of head up that steering committee. Now, there's really no reason at this point for the planning board to head up that steering committee because the I think Zach is doing that right now. So that's where I'm at. I think the planning board should take the UDO, and the existing UDO steering committee should take the land use plan.
Only thing I'd caution on that, the process is advantageous. From a scheduling standpoint, it might be beneficial if they can lump those meetings together. That would just be from an administrative standpoint of what is easiest to get people's schedules together, because I know that's been a challenge with identifying times where people are all able to come together for those. So that'd just be my only statement from the staff side, is that from the ease of that process and the fact that there's already existing members engaged on that UDO committee, I'm not sure that it would be appropriate to swap them out, and especially when we're facing a relatively tight timeline to get this done by June. So that would just be my 2 cents on it.
And we have a representative on the board, which is Susan, on that committee. So I would have to agree, as far as my opinion goes, is that we got a good group, and I'd say let them just continue the work, and that way, if they can, and they're in a meeting, they can be literally working on both of them at the same time.
I would agree with that.
Okay, so
Yeah, I think that's the way we should do it. Keep the committee we have.
Maybe a vote just to expand their scope of work, so to speak.
okay, so do I have a motion to just expand the UDO to the land use?
I'll make that motion.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Steve?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-1. We would send a notice out to those people on that UDO to let them know they can start be looking toward the next phase of that, which is the land use. That's where I think they're really going to come in heavy, because like Susan said, the UDO is more of a document, more of a process. This group that we've got together, that I believe it was Commissioner Martin suggested to begin with, couldn't ask for, I think, a better, well-rounded bunch of people to be doing this. So, all right, next up is the selection of the 2021 spring paving project contractor and budget amendment 2020.2021.12.
All righty, let's. I have to refer to my binder on this one. Let me see. I'm not sure what's in everybody's binder. But this might be what I've got digitally is a little bit different.
Sure you didn't cut it. Can y'all still hear? Make sure you didn't cut it off. Find out in a second.
Commissioner Martin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you. All right, so I've got the RFP on the screen, so I'll just read from the memo. We recently solicited for proposals for the 2021 spring paving project. We received proposals from Able Paving and Seal Coating, Onzo Grading and Paving, Tripp Brothers, and Barnhill Contracting. And so based off of the paving bids that we received, our recommendation would be to go with Onzo Grading and Paving, who submitted a proposal in the amount of $77,711.54. So we'll need to do a budget amendment to transfer those funds to our Powellville Street Maintenance Department. We would increase revenues a transfer from Powellville Reserve Account in the amount of $20,000, and then a transfer from the unappropriated fund balance in the amount of $57,712 for a total revenue increase of $77,712. And then we would increase the street maintenance department as the expenditure side by $77,712, bringing the department total to $231,737. And the streets included in this project include Loma Linda Drive, Bogue Sound Drive, Sutton Drive, and Neptune Drive. What would be requested of the board would be to consider selecting Onzo Grading and Paving for the 2021 spring paving contract, and to approve the proposed budget amendment number 12, authorizing the town manager in consultation with the town attorney to enter into a contract with Onzo Grading and Paving. And the attachments included in the packet included the RFP, as well as the proposals received from the contractors and budget amendment number 12.
All right. Before we call for a motion, any questions for Zach? Hang on. Send the speaker down. Commissioner King.
I thought you were calling for a motion.
No, just ask if anybody had any questions for Zach before we did a motion. If not, then I'll take a motion. Would you like to make a motion?
I've got a question for Zach.
Okay, go right ahead.
Zach, what's the anticipated start date if we approve this?
Probably, you say like 2 weeks on the contract. Okay, so it'd be within 2 weeks we could get the contract squared away. So they would need to complete the work in this fiscal year. So as soon as we have the fully executed and signed contract, then we ask them to mobilize as soon as possible. So generally it's about a 1 month lead time is what we see in terms of when they can mobilize. But especially for that site over in Bayshore Park on Bogue Sound Drive, I know that's important to get them over there and get started. So we will try to move that process along as quickly as possible. And they will have to complete it in this fiscal year, so it has to be done in June.
Thank you, Zach.
All right, so motion's been made. Commissioner King, did we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? And Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
All right, motion carried 5-0. All right, next up is a Croton High School soccer team recognition proclamation. I got to tell you, I was playing that night, and there's this group of women. They all had these T-shirts on that said "Croatan Crazies," and I'm like, "What is this all about?" And so, right in the middle, we're doing this presentation, and these women erupted, and they had just won the state 2A, I think it is. But I'll let Zach read this.
How do you want me to read it?
I got to pull it up.
Okay.
Give me a moment. I don't mind reading it. Okay, I got it.
All right.
Okay, so I ask you gentlemen to approve of this proclamation recognizing the Croton High. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Croton or Croatan? Okay, we'll have to just get us.
3 syllables.
Okay.
It's Croatan.
Croatan, thank you, gentlemen. So proclamation recognizing the Croatan High School boys soccer team on their NS North Carolina High School Athletic Association 2A championship. Whereas On March 26, 2021, the Croatan High School boys soccer team won the title game victory over High Britain. I'm not even going to worry if I pronounce that right. With a score of 4-1 in overtime to win the 2A boys soccer state championship. And whereas the Croatan boys soccer team won the first state championship in program history under the coaching of Coach Paul Slater. And whereas the Board of Commissioners of the town of Cape Carteret wants to recognize the Croatan Cougars boys soccer team on its awesome state championship win. Now, therefore, I, William Baker, Mayor of the town of Cape Carteret, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the town's gratitude and appreciation to the Croatan High School boys soccer team 2021 North Carolina state champions on winning the 2A state soccer championship. We are extremely proud of each of you. Well done. We'll adopt this for a motion to approve it. We have one from Mr. Waters. Do I have a second? Second. Do I have all in favor?
Yes.
Mark. All right, carries 5-0. Congratulations, Croatan. You boys are awesome. I understand their football team is also doing very well right now with this weird type of season they're having.
We also recognize Mike Curtis, who purchased the banners that were installed coming in at each entry point into town. So I just want to take a moment to recognize Mike Curtis, who purchased those banners, and the Public Works Department for putting those out. So
All right.
glad we were able to recognize them.
Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Public Works. All right, next up is the update to personnel policy per NCEM. I'm just going to assume that the NCEM stands for North Carolina Emergency Management.
Yes, that's correct. And this is just something we're trying to clean up before hurricane season. So I'll put this on the screen as well so everybody can see. All right, so there's two spots that we would be changing in the personnel policy. So in discussion with North Carolina Emergency Management folks and their attorney on staff up there, they recommended a change to the current wording of our personnel policy on page 15. So currently it reads, in emergency situations where employees are required to work long and continuous hours, the town manager may approve compensation at time and 1/2 for those hours worked and or grant time off with pay for rest and recuperation to ensure safe working conditions. And it would be replaced with the following wording, which is, when the town declares a state of emergency or is covered by a county level state of emergency and employees are required to work long and continuous hours, the town manager will approve compensation at time and 1/2 for those additional hours worked in excess of the employee's standard work schedule. And then on page 16, the original wording read, in a declared disaster state of emergency or during emergency situations requiring long and continuous hours of work, employees, including the town manager and chief of police, may be compensated at a rate of up to time and 1/2 and are granted time off with pay for rest and recuperation to ensure safe working conditions for the duration of the emergency period. And this would be replaced with the wording, during a town or county declared state of emergency in which employees are required to work long and continuous hours, exempt employees, including but not limited to the town manager and the chief of police, will be compensated at time and 1/2 for those additional hours worked in excess of the employee's standard work schedule. So these were the two changes recommended by the North Carolina Department of Emergency Management, and we're making those changes to ensure that our personnel policy cannot be considered a discretionary pay policy, which is not reimbursable by FEMA. So just to make sure that we don't fall into that category. So
All right.
just ask for the board to consider approving the proposed changes to the town's personnel policy as presented.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Zach about that?
Move to approve.
All right. We have a motion to approve. Second. Have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Mr. Martin? All right. Motion carries 5-0. All right. Next up is commissioner reports. And we'll just start with you, Commissioner Martin.
Okay, just want to say that the Bayshore residents have been very patient during this dredging process. I think we all know the end result of the dredging is going to be a huge benefit for the town. But I don't mind telling you they're ready for it to be over so they can get the roads fixed and clean their homes up, the black dirt and on their vehicles and whatnot. But I want to thank them for being as patient as possible, especially during the extension of 2 weeks. Hopefully we can get back to normal over here with Zach's help, Zach and Public Works. I guess that's all I've got to comment on. Other than to say, other than to ask the mayor, are we back to, we advertise virtual meetings, but I see I'm the only commissioner out there because I adhere to the notice that was posted. Are we back to in-person meetings or not?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't get that memo.
I did not. I came down here because my computer
Okay.
wasn't working.
Well, we'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again.
I would appreciate that very much. It's been very, very difficult to follow this meeting for some reason. All the other virtual meetings have been great, but I couldn't tell you half of what was said tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. All righty. Commissioner King. No comments, Mr. King. All right. Commissioner Nailets.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd like to report that the meetings are going to be in person in this room from now on. I would like to report that, but of course, I haven't heard it until just now. It seems to me that with every store, shop, and business in Cape Carteret open, the White Oak Elementary School is open, and even Hardee's has finally opened the inside dining, that I think it's time for us to at least unlock the front door so that when citizens come to town hall, they don't have to do business on the sidewalk, as I saw yesterday. So I'd really like to see us in here for our meetings and open to the public. Everybody's had shots. Anybody who wants to can wear a mask. There's no reason we can't get back to normal. That's all I have.
All right. Commissioner Miller.
The only thing I have to report is we're talking about the meetings, and I'm on board with being here. All of us being here. I'm ready to get back to normal. However, next month I am going to be out of town, May the 10th through the 12th, work related. I've got to leave on that Monday. I can still participate in the meeting if I can do it virtually, but I will not be here that Monday night. So I don't know if that's going to still be an option. I feel sure that where I'm at, I can get on the computer at 6 o'clock to still participate, but I will be out of town on May the 10th.
Love to have you. I think we should be able to do this.
Yeah, and I think we'll continue to do it.
Going forward. Yeah.
That way, if people want to tune in.
Commissioner Waters.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Commissioner Nailett said. Thank you, sir, for saying that. Also, I'd like to commend our chairman of the planning board, Susan Hall, for being in attendance of our meetings. I appreciate that. Thank you, Susan.
You changed your mind, want to say something, Mark?
Yes, because he just reminded me of something. Would you put on the agenda for next time to take the action that we'll have one of the commissioners here attend, on some kind of a basis, the planning board meetings each month? I think, Mayor, you had brought that up, but put it on the agenda so we can either approve it or not.
Okay.
Just for the record, Mayor, I have attended the planning board meetings, I think the last 3 months virtually.
Okay. All right. Well, I got just a couple of things. One is I'll personally apologize to you, Steve, and everybody else because I should have made sure that everybody was understanding we're going to try to have this in-person meeting. I'm not going to go into some personal issues I had this week, but it's been a rough week for me, and my mind's just had a lot of things going on, and there's no excuse. I should have let everybody know that that was the intention, was to have this meeting. So I apologize, Steve, once again. That is my fault. That's my responsibility to make sure that everybody understands what's going on with these meetings. So going forward, hopefully this will not happen again. And I want to see everybody in here. I regret that there were some issues as far as your being able to understand everything as well, because that's my goal. I want to make sure we've got everybody that wants to speak can speak, and that everybody is hearing what we've got to say, especially the commissioners. Some good news is had the meeting with the ILA, and so they've got their budget passed, so we will not be seeing tax increase from the ILA. It shall go forward with regular budget necessarily, excuse me, with the regular budget, everything will be adhered to without any tax increase. For some bad news, I'm assuming everybody read the paper about what happened with our state representative and the county board regarding the sales tax. I had a nice presentation I was going to read to you guys, but I'm just going to go off the hip with this thing. I feel sometimes I can reach people better when I just say what's in my heart. The county board, as you know, this last meeting we had agreed to have a committee with some of us from the towns here on this side and some of the island towns, and a couple of the committee members from the board, the county board, to discuss trying to maybe come up with a hybrid system that would better benefit us and be fair to everybody all around. But while this was going on, the county board, most of them, were in communication, I guess, with, according to emails I saw, with our state representative, Ms. McElrath, to have her, who put two bills up, I think House Bill 441 and House Bill 442, right off the top of my head. One would take away our ability to address this at all, and not just us, but every county. In other words, you got what you got, and that's it. The state says no. The other one would be to count pretty much every bedroom, every hotel room, and every crook and corner to up their population over there, and that would hurt us even worse. My big thing and my reaction, which I'm sure you read in the paper, was, why is the state getting involved with this at all right now? To me, this was just underhanded. It just likens to me, I guess, if I had to compare it to something, Pearl Harbor. Here we are trying to have a meeting, and then we get bombed on the side. But I will say this, Commissioner Shin, Chuck Shin, great guy, a true upstanding man. He did not have any part of this nefarious stuff going on. He stood by his principles. I wish we had the rest of that board like that. Only thing I can say in closing on that issue is be careful who you vote for. Don't vote for a party, because you got a very comfortable bunch here that seems to be okay with, and I'm just going to use their words, that as long as we don't mess with golden geese and the golden egg, everything's going to be fine, and that equality is in the eye of the beholder. That was an actual quote that was made at a board meeting. Equality is in the eye of the beholder. I'm sorry, I got a problem with that. I'm a little irritated, if you can't tell, just going back in my memory of rehashing that night. And I'm sorry, but when you're a county commissioner, equality is your responsibility to try to make sure that is being taken care of with all the towns in this county. And evidently, that's not what's happening. So other than, showing up at the polling in the next couple of elections and getting some decent people to run that are going to look out for all of us and not just a few. And I'll say this again, it's not a fight between us and the island. They're just doing their job. This is evidently a fight between us and our own county representatives. I'm just about ready to say, let's form our own county. But anyway, I digress, and I'm sorry to go negative like that, but that just really bothers me, that our town is just a second-class citizen in our own county by our own admission. So with that, we're going to move on.
Mayor, can I make a comment concerning your comments?
Sure, go right ahead.
I want to applaud you for the efforts that you have given to try to remedy the sales tax distribution problem that we have in the county. I would like to sit down with you at some point in time and talk to you about that at length if that's agreeable with you.
Oh, absolutely.
But I want to applaud you for the efforts that you made and for taking this up and getting personal about it. I mean, that's good. That's what we need. We need somebody that takes it personal, wants to fight on behalf of our town. And I thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. And I've made no qualms about the fact that I have absolutely zero political aspirations. I'm a one and done mayor, but if I see that there's nobody that I feel is going to represent us running for state, I have no problem running for that office or trying to get somebody else to do it, because I've had enough. I think it's time for this county to stand up and say enough as well. So anyway, I'm sorry, I digress once again. All right, so next up is the one item we're going to have is the consideration of the purchase of property at 305 Lejeune Road and ensuing budget amendment. Zach?
Alrighty, so I have some of the information here on the screen about the subject property. It's at 305 Lejeune Road. We're currently under contract, and it's got a contingency in the contract subject to approval by the Board of Commissioners. The address 305 Lejeune Road, zoning R10. The size of the proposed lot would be 15,000 square feet. The proposed use would be for a neighborhood park, and the purchase price would be $95,000. And then allocating $5,000 for closing costs and for recording the subdivision plat. And then I also put on the screen, this is the proposed division of the property into two parcels. So you can see the tract in blue would be the property that we would be purchasing. It'd be that strip where the old ferry house is located, and that would be 15,000 square feet. And then the proposed budget amendment for this purchase is on the screen. So it would be 2020.2021.13. Land to increase the land acquisition line by $95,000 and to increase legal fees by $5,000. And we would transfer that $100,000 from the unappropriated fund balance to fund this venture. But Brett's contacted Mike Lincoln to do the updated title search for the property, and I've contacted the surveyor to get the subdivision plat developed so we can record that if the board moves forward this evening. But so I think it's a great opportunity for the town to have a nice park in the Bayshore Park community, and something we hope that we can move forward on. Be happy to answer any questions about what we're proposing to do.
Hold on a second. Mike, you got a question for Zach? Right. Hang on. I want to make sure everybody's hearing this.
Didn't Mike Lincoln already do the title search?
Right. So it'd just be an update because that title search was in November to make sure nothing happened since November.
What's that going to cost?
It shouldn't be much. I would imagine somewhere around $350 or so. $350.
Okay, $350 if you didn't hear. Any other questions for Zach? Comments? Not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Have a second. All in favor? Hold on. Did you have a comment, Mr. Nails?
Yeah. I'm just not crazy about the idea of acquiring additional real estate. We're going to spend $100,000 to acquire this thing, and then probably another 100 for the bulkhead parking. We'll do something with that concrete block house, either tear it down or retrofit it for some other use. Going to have parking problems down there at night, people watching the sub races. And as we see with the boat ramp, the kayak ramp, there's always unanticipated expenses popping up later. It would seem to me that a couple $100,000, we could probably find better uses to spend it. That's it.
All right. Any other comments, discussion?
Yes, I have, Mayor.
Go ahead, Steve.
Zach, if we vote to approve this, were your intentions to put a two plank vinyl fence on the right of way?
Yes, like we discussed, putting a fence along the edge of the right of way there and then around the property, and then kind of dressing that up, maybe some picnic tables, grills, and just a little bit, probably could leave some grass parking spaces there, and for relatively low cost, turn it into a nice park area for the residents. So I think it won't take too much in terms of that to get it to a nice position where people can go down there and have a picnic or use the grills and all that. So
How would you, when you install this fence, would you encroach into the right of way to give that area more room? And what I'm trying to say is get closer to the road with the fence.
yeah, I mean, we can install the fence in the right of way. I would probably just leave like a 3-foot distance off the edge of pavement just to provide like recovery area. Somebody's backing out or something like that, but not enough room for people to park there and take
Okay.
it home.
That was my concern. Also, if we do vote to approve this, how soon would you put picnic tables and that fence up?
I think we could do that fairly quickly. I'd have to look to see exactly how much we have in that Parks and Recreation line. But I think we could probably shift some things around and get that in place. And if we needed to come back, and it would be an insignificant amount in terms of what the cost for the fencing and all that would be. So.
Well, I'll tell you, as everybody knows, I was against the idea with the boat ramp down there simply because of congestion in that canal. But I would rather see the town have a quaint little park there than to see 9 boat slips, commercial rental boat slips along that wall down there. So I'm going to support this deal here.
Any other comments? Discussion? All right, and we'll do a call for a vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, all against? Motion carries 4-1. The only other item we have, gentlemen, is we have to come back to vote on the items we had later this evening with the public comment, and possibly, if we could, work in a little budget discussion and then give Zach a chance to show us what he's worked on so far and get some ideas from you guys of priorities. I know we got the 2 main ones all the time, which is streets and ditches. But just in case there's anything else you guys would like for us to look at for the upcoming fiscal year, as well as looking ahead in the next few years to give Zach some direction as far as what we'd like to see. So this week, I didn't know if anybody had any opportunity. Would Wednesday be too soon? So Wednesday would be fine? I'm just trying to think, because I know, I think Commissioner Waters is going to be gone next week, and I'd like for everybody to be here if we can. So would Wednesday?
Mayor?
Go ahead, Steve.
Mayor, Wednesday afternoon, Zach and myself have a meeting with Commissioner Calmer.
Okay, well, we can do it Wednesday evening. Or morning.
I would prefer morning.
Okay, so how's everybody else? Just a consensus, Wednesday morning, say 9 o'clock?
Yeah, that should be.
And we can do that in person here at Town Hall.
I'm good at 9 o'clock Wednesday morning.
Okay, everybody else okay with that? All right, so 9 o'clock Wednesday morning. We'll vote on these issues we left for tonight, and we'll just have a brief meeting about the budget and give Zach an opportunity to tell us what he's thinking about the upcoming year. How's everybody feel about that? Good.
That's good.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion. I'm sorry, hang on a second.
I would just do a motion to read.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, rather than end the meeting, we'll recess. I'm going to entertain a motion to recess this meeting till 9 o'clock Wednesday morning. Do I have a motion? Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
All righty, gentlemen, thank you so much. I do appreciate you. Thanks you, staff. Thank you, Brett. I appreciate you being here. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Thanks, Brett. I appreciate that, man. It's nice having you here.